Mr. Willem.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Clarifications for DPM Heng. First clarification is, in his speech, he mentioned that millions have been lost, if I heard him correctly. And my question to him is this a finding of the court, or does this remain an allegation? That's the first clarification. Secondly, he suggested or asserted that in the conduct of proceedings, not just this judgment that's being mentioned, but prior to that, the Workers' Party had taken the position that we don't owe any explanations to anyone and that we are not accountable. Does he not know that our consistent position has been that we owe statutory duties under the Town Councils Act? And related to that, is he aware that this judgment of the High Court actually makes new law? And if he looks at the summary from para 6 onwards that he handed out to the House just now, the court actually goes into explaining why it is actually making a finding that fiduciary duties apply in the context of town councils, which has never been the settled law. The third clarification is, he seemed to suggest that we had obstructed the AGO in his work. I hope that he can clarify that, because I do not think that the AGO actually said anything of that nature. Fourth, he kept repeating that we had hidden documents from auditors, which, if produced, would have revealed the truth. Can he explain what exactly he's talking about? And finally, I think towards the end, he mentioned that we had argued against the town council system. I do not know what he's referring to, so could he please clarify?
Well, Mr. William asked, about the point about the money that's been lost. All right. I have mentioned in my speech that the court's finding has been very clear that you have contracts worth millions of dollars which have been awarded under circumstances for which it was not quite justified. And the findings have been very clear in the auditor's report, in two auditors' reports, and in the court findings. Your second point about... No, I did not say that millions have been lost, but you have said... let me check that point. Yeah? But let me go on to your second point, that the High Court made new laws. No, in fact, the High Court judgment, and you are a lawyer, you have read the High Court judgment carefully, that the High Court spent a lot of time looking at the questions of what duties you owe, the fiduciary duties that the town councillors owe to the town council. And the judgment was very clear on this point. The court did not make new law. The law has been there. And on the AGO's nature, it said, well, in what ways did you, not review documents from the AGO? The fact is that there were many documents that were asked for, but the town council did not provide. But despite that, the AGO had important findings that merited action. So there were documents which were asked for, which you did not provide. And finally, fourth, you asked about auditors. Yeah. Can I clarify what you asked about auditors again, your fourth point?
Yes, Speaker. What I had asked was, I think DPM Heng mentioned repeatedly that we had apparently hidden documents from auditors, which, if produced, would have revealed the truth. I believe this phrase came out more than once. So may I ask what he's referring to?
Well, the emails, many documents were produced during the Court of Appeal hearing and also during the various court procedures. And it was only when those emails were produced that we revealed the truth on how FMSS was appointed. Do you not recall emails for which you had said that, you had asked your Ms. Howe to hide the truth on their appointment. And those are important documents, all right? And at the end of it, you argue about the town council system. Well, you have, earlier on, in Parliament, you have said that, and in electioneering, you have talked about how the town council system disadvantaged opposition parties.
Mr. Peng what?
I'd like to seek clarification from DPM. Just now he said that when we co-sign checks, it seemed to imply that one can encash a check with just one signatory under AHTC. You said that checks cannot. That what we say that the checks needs to be co-signed by either the chairman or either one of the vice chair is not the truth. So is the minister implying that check can be encashed with just one signature, even though we set it up as that two signatures must be there before we can encash the check under AHTC?
Well, the Workers' Party members have asked a whole series of, questions on details. But let me get back to why I moved this motion. Right? I moved this motion because this is a question of integrity. This is a question of the way that we deal honestly in Parliament, with our residents, with the public, and with our fellow town councillors. I have asked very serious questions about how the transactions were done. I've pointed out very serious findings in all the audit reports, in all the High Court findings, the Court of Appeal findings. But both of you have just stood up to ask me a series of little details. I would like to ask you to answer this question. And I have asked that all that this House is asking is for Ms. Silva Lim and Mr. Lau Tia Kiang to recuse themselves from dealing with or having oversight over financial matters until the court case is handled. And I've asked questions of Mr. Faisal Manap as to what you as chairman of the town council would do. I've asked Mr. Pritam Singh as secretary of the party and Ms. Lim as chairman of the party on what you intend to do given these serious findings. Do you have an interest to ensure that our system of governance in Singapore remains upright, that we have integrity in the system, that elected members of parliament must be honest and upright in their dealings? But instead you've asked me a whole range of other questions about whether it's one signature or two signatures. My goodness.
Mr. Peng what?
Mr. Speaker, sir, if you say that someone can encash a check with one signature instead of two, as what we have said, it's a question of integrity. Come on.
Yes, but you see, the main question that I've asked is, the findings is that even on the question of signature of check, Ms. Lim has not, has admitted that you have not gone through every transaction. So I'm just asking you, let's stick to the main point and not detract. And that I don't think that this is what we should be doing in debating in this House, whether it's this path or that path, when the main issue that you ought to answer has not been answered. I would like an answer.
We've been arguing these details for 8 years. The court has come to a conclusion. There's fraudulent dereliction of duty.
Mr. William.
What do you say?
Mr. Speaker, Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee-keat's filing of this motion at this point in time is telling but premature. Let me explain why. The PEP government is clearly excited about certain findings and comments contained in the High Court judgment issued on 11 of October, and these are findings in relation to certain actions taken by some of us in the aftermath of the 2011 general election. However, as DPM himself pointed out, Singapore has a court structure that subjects High Court judgments to possible appeal, to the Court of Appeal. And this avenue of appeal enables parties who are aggrieved by judgments of the High Court to seek review of the findings by the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal, consisting of at least 3 judges of appeal, will review the findings at the trial and may affirm, reverse or vary the findings. And if I may quote from the Supreme Court of Judicature Act, it is stated that the Court of Appeal may draw inferences of facts and give any judgment and make any order which ought to have been given or made, and make such further or other orders as the case requires. So the judgment referred to in this motion was delivered on the 11th of October, and under the applicable procedures, any party who is dissatisfied with the judgment can file a notice of appeal within 1 month. In this case, the deadline for filing the appeal is 11th of November, which is next Monday. We have been studying the judgment with our lawyers since it was released, and I can inform the House today that we have decided to appeal the judgment to the Court of Appeal. We are still within the time frame to do so, and it will be filed by 11th of November. Accordingly, the DPM acted prematurely in its decision to file the motion, and I asked the House to reject it. Whatever the trial judge has decided is subject to review by the Court of Appeal. This is a civil proceeding and involves novel points of law. And contrary to what I think DPM had suggested, it has not been decided as to whether any loss has been caused to the Town Council. And on this point, I should put this in perspective by referring to the summary which DPM Heng distributed earlier. Annex 1, para 27. Where the judge states, or it is summarized quite clearly, that the legal burden of proving loss falls upon the plaintiffs. So this point has not been decided as to whether loss has been proven. Mr. Speaker, as members of Parliament, Mr. Lau Tia Keng and I have duties to discharge, and this motion appears to be aimed at curtailing us from discharging our duties while the case is still pending for final adjudication. We are still pursuing the matter through the courts, and we thank everyone who has stood by us and helped us in our quest for justice.
Mr. Edwin Tong.
Mr. Speaker, DPM has explained to this House why this motion.
DPM.
Mr. Speaker, sir, Ms. Lim has raised issues. I would like to call for an adjournment.
Mr. Pratam Singh.
Mr. Speaker, there is no need for an adjournment. We are proceeding with the motion as planned. We had a break at 3 o'clock. We can continue.
No, it seems as the debate is premature.
DPM, what would you like the adjournment for?
Consider her point very carefully, and we'll give her a considered response on that point, whether to proceed.
That's because Ms. Sylvia Lim, the member, has said that she has made the point that it was not proper for me to raise this, and I would like an adjournment for us to consider the matter and respond to you.
No, so we just.
I'll suspend the sitting for 10 minutes. You can do your consultations as you need to, and then we'll return. Order.